Good morning.
Good morning.
One more time, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I was a nun in my last life. I am Denise Rhymes, and I have the honor and privilege of serving this congregation as president of the board of directors. We have a really busy day today, and so I will just say to those of you who are joining us for the first or second or third time, every service here is different. Every week there's a new experience. There's a little something for everyone if you keep coming back. So we are very glad that you're here, new or tenured with this congregation. We are delighted to have you with us this morning. I have a lot of announcements this morning, and they're all really important, so here they go in no particular priority order. First of all, it's my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to introduce Matthew Driver. Matthew is our guest musician this morning. He is a recent was just graduated. My mom is listening. Was just graduated from the North Carolina School of the Arts. We are delighted to have you here with us today, Matthew, and there will be a recital of Matthew's work at 3 o'clock this afternoon after the annual meeting. With regard to the capital campaign, we are still eagerly raising money. There are 7 days left to purchase chances to win the beautiful quilt that the quilters have put together. For those of you here today, it's out in the lobby. The funds that are collected from your raffle tickets will be added to the capital campaign funds. This beautiful quilt is a collaboration of many hands, but its beginning was the pattern and materials from Kathleen Van Passion's stash. Apparently that's quilt language for big pile of scraps. And the stash came to the first UU quilters after Kathleen passed away. 12 quilters each sewed one of the blocks. Another shopped for materials, several cut additional pieces, did the layout and design, and put it all together. The quilt measures 58 by 71, just the right size for your bed, your wall, or any place that you love beautiful art. Raffle tickets are $20 each, or you can get 6 for $100. That's a deal, y'all. Do the math. That's a great deal. Wish I could get hamburger for that price. Purchase your tickets in the lobby after today's service, and if you're viewing from home or someplace other than the Great Hall, go to the First UU homepage and click on Donate, and then you can click on Raffle, and you can enter for the drawing as well. The winner will be drawn next Saturday afternoon, June the 11th at 2 p.m. The third announcement is that we have 12 delegates, based on the size of this congregation, 12 delegates for General Assembly, which kicks off on the 22nd of this month. You don't need to register for General Assembly. You do need to be able to spend about 3 hours on Thursday, the 23rd, and Friday, the 24th of June, and a couple of hours on Saturday, the 25th, in order to take part in the business sessions at General Assembly. We are still looking for delegates. It is a very important year. We'll get you more information, but if you're interested, please let Margaret Rush know. Margaret, I just signed you up. Please let Margaret Rush know, and we will make the registration process for a delegate available to you. There is no cost to be a delegate. And then finally, our annual meeting is today, shortly after the service, and at 12:15. So for all of you who are interested in how this church has been working, please join us. And Regina Largent has a question. Only Regina Largent would have a question in the service, and we're happy for that.
Stand up so people know who she is, so they know who to go to.
She's not in the room because she's monitoring the Zoom chat for the service. But Margaret is our church administrator, and she's back in the office suite, and you can email her or see her in person if you can catch her. Let us enter into a time of worship.
so I can put mine up there. So.
Everybody remain standing. We're going to sing our opening hymn, 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And the lyrics are on the screen. 1, 2, good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to our worship service. For those who don't know me, I am the Reverend Sherman Logan. I feel blessed to serve this congregation as its acting senior minister. I'm so glad to see all of you here on this brand new morning as we gather together in peace. You all just made my heart shine after a tough week. So it's good to see all of you. So thank you for joining us today. We who bring a teaching of hope, we who brings prayers, we who bring a saving message, who welcome all in our doors, the joyful, the heartbroken, those from many different faith journeys, those from all walks of life. We welcome all who are searching, seeking, looking for more meaning, more service, more love. All of us gather here together in person or watching virtually on this glorious day. Thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to join us for worship. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Come, let us enter into a time of worship.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Matthew Taylor, entitled The Change. I can feel the change coming, like growing pains. I feel the change in my bones, pulling me, stretching me, forming me into the true I am. Can you feel it? The change in our bodies as we adapt, grow, change. The weight shifting and molding to fit this evolving body that we are in. Guided by faith that this too will pass. We can survive this because our ancestors survived. Can you feel them in your DNA? You, a mixture of their particles that was molded to fit your spirit. Change and shift, mold and grow. Yet, in some ways, we stay the same. And to continue with the theme of change, you might have noticed that I inadvertently read the reading instead of the chalice lighting. If you noticed that, you're good you use. If you didn't notice that, pretend I didn't say a word. But the chalice lighting is equally appropriate, and that's what we're going to do now. 4 blue-tipped matches resting on the edge of a box. Does the match love the wick? Does the wick love the wax or the air it consumes? Yes, without question. To melt together, to burn together, to change together. The pieces of the candle must love each other, though not necessarily wisely and not necessarily well.
Let us now center ourselves as we prepare for a silent meditation. Sit straight in your seats, both feet planted on the floor. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Listen to your heartbeat. Let us now enter into a time of silent meditation. Spirit of life, God whose name is love. We come to you this morning with grateful hearts as we acknowledge your most intimate presence by many different means, by prayer, meditation, reflective thoughts, or just a moment of silence. For each of us, we speak the deepest prayers of our hearts in different ways, knowing that what it means for them to be answered will look and feel different for each of us. So whatever method we choose to acknowledge what is divine to us, we come to thank you this morning. We, in this faith community, are embarking on a new journey, a new adventure, a new day. Thank you for the breeze of change, clearing our heads and bringing fresh ideas. And we're thankful that you are with us in every transition. And as we enter into this new era with excitement and even some anxiety, we recall your deep compassion present and abounding love. We thank you for the experiences that have brought us to this moment, and we know that change can be uncomfortable and unsettling for some. So we ask that our fears are calm, that we are spared from discouragement. Help us to stay on course during these uncertain times and open our hearts to your guidance so that our journey to this unknown place continue as a journey of trust. Be with us now as we move forward, rejoicing with you and supporting one another. We ask this in the name of all that is holy. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm Ginger Clark, and I'm speaking on behalf of my son, Dylan Clark, who was asked to nominate and introduce our Share the Plate organization for June. These are his words, but I'm sparing him the agony of public speaking. Today is the 5th day of June. This means that Pride Month is in full swing by now, and we all need to do our part this Pride Month more than ever before. As the only straight member of my former middle school's Gay Straight Alliance Club, I know that the LGBTQ+ community always needs more allies. That's why this month's Share the Plate recipient is Equality Virginia, an organization devoted to supporting members of the LGBTQ+ community from all ages through activism, legislation, and support. Equality Virginia places special focus on transgender and LGBTQ+ members of color who continue to be the victims of violent acts and hateful words even in today's modern society. Today, I want to direct your attention to, and your donations to, a section of the organization known as EV Advocates. All money given to the advocacy program at Equality Virginia goes directly to funding lobbyists who do the work of convincing our legislatures to do something good, which I personally believe to be the best way for change to occur in our society. Remember that every donation, no matter how small, counts toward the greater goal and the heaven on earth we are pushing for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger, and thank you, Dylan. Please look at the screens for ways that you can give. And if you want to give cash this morning, please raise your hands and the usher will bring you an envelope. Once you put the cash in the envelope, when you leave service, there should be a basket at both doors. So raise your hands high and the ushers will come to you. And if you don't get an envelope, just drop it in at the end of the service. We take cash. Thank you, Matthew. Our second reading this morning, Where Life Sends You, by Teresa Inez Soto. Where is life sending you? Here, now. Don't flinch. Where will you go? Across the street? To learn the name of your neighbor? Across the city? To support interfaith dialogue? To witness the practice of neighbors whose faith has different names, use different words than yours? Is life calling you to come closer to the grief around you, not with words, but with empathy and kind silence? Sometimes there's no fixing sadness, and we must instead weather it. But together, we make the journey as much as possible, more than alone. Where does life send you? To coffee hour to start the brew? To a class to accompanying young students in experiencing everything that Unitarian Universalists can be for us, both as individuals and as people practicing together in community. Go where your heart pulls you. Catch up to that insistent call, to the thing that waits for you, the soft place where your talents can rest and your joy bubble up. The sound, the lights, the homeless shelter. The task of governance practiced with care as much as lighting any chalice, as crucial as singing any song. There is somewhere you can be. There might not be a parking place reserved sign where you can see, but yes, for you, from the universe, whether your task is to work or to heal, to rest or to play, it is time to go. Go where life sends you and be who you are meant to be. So friends, I'd like to start this morning by asking you all the question: how do you deal with change? I mean, when life happens, our everyday routine gets mixed up. The ways we're used to doing things are now much different than they were a few years ago. How do you tend to handle change? Do you embrace it, resist it, accept it, fight it? Now, I must admit, I am a creature of habit. I have driven the same route to this church for the past 13 years and know it takes exactly 20 minutes from my driveway in Sanston to where I park on Garrett Street. And since I was a child, I'll only eat one thing at a time. I'll eat my eggs before the bacon, eat my vegetables before the meat, and my fries before my hamburger. And when I would buy a new suit to wear for a special occasion with a nice shirt and tie, I would not wear that outfit before it was time for the event, even though that event may be a few months away. And despite my wife's valiant efforts to get me to change my routine, and on occasion she would make wise cracks about my quirks, but yes, I am a creature of habit. Now, it's not that I don't like change. During my 63 years on this earth, I've learned to adapt and deal with many changes that I've faced in my personal, professional, and religious life. And at an early age, I discovered that I only like to change when the change I wanted to make benefited me. And when it doesn't, oh well. Now here's the deal, my friends. Whether we like it or not, whether I like it or not, changes are always coming our way. And we live in a constantly changing world. And as I was told as a young boy by my mother, boy, if you live long enough, you'll always experience change, so learn to deal with it. Yes, mother. Now, some changes we choose, some changes we saw coming, but the toughest changes are the ones that we face when we didn't expect. And the pace of change is insane. Changes in technology, changes in the way we communicate with each other, changes in our political discourse, changes in weather patterns, changes in the way we get our information, and yes, changes in the way we now do church. For example, when I graduated from seminary 17 years ago, I never imagined that I would be doing worship services from my bedroom, my living room, my front sun porch, my dining room, and lucky for y'all, it was never from my bathroom. And now I had to learn to preach from something called Zoom. So look what has happened to our world during the past 27 months. Our vacation plans for scripts, and just as we start feeling good about traveling again, going out in crowds, not wearing masks, and singing in church, the COVID rate has recently skyrocketed to over 5 times more than what they were this time last year. And in some states in this country, the cost for a gallon of gasoline is higher than the federal minimum wage. And some folks are paying more for apartment rent than I pay for my house mortgage. Our daily routines have changed. Our jobs have changed. Our bank accounts have changed. Our school has changed. And 27 months ago, we were warned that our society would probably never return to normal. So we had to brace for a new normal, whether we wanted to admit it and hope against all hope that one day we'd soon return to some semblance of the way things were in 2019. This so-called new normal can change in a blink of an eye. And if the past 2 years have taught us anything, the new normal won't stay normal for long. Now, we know all changes have been inevitable, and there have been changes from the time we were conceived until the day we leave this planet, some for better, unfortunately some for worse. And you think about it, we're not the same person that we were 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. None of us are not the same. So friends, we can fight changes as long as we want, but it's coming for us, whether we're ready or not. Now, change can be a blessing or a curse, depending on your perspective. Now, how many of you all read the book, Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson? Well, the message that I got from that book is that people can come to see change as a blessing if they understand the nature of cheese and the role cheese plays in their lives. So the parable takes place in a maze, 4 beings living in the maze. You know, Sniff and Scruppy are the mice, and the non-analytical, non-judgmental. They wanted cheese and were willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And you know about him and Haw, the little people, mouse-sized humans, who had an entirely different relationship with cheese. It's not just substance to them. It is their self-image. Their lives and belief system were built around the cheese they had found. So as I read the book, I saw cheese as a symbol to some things related to my life, the jobs I had, my career paths, the companies I worked for, and the congregation that I serve. And cheese could stand for anything from health to relationships. So the point of the story, according to Dr. Johnson, is that we have to be alert to the changes in the cheese and be prepared to go running off and search for new sources of cheese when the cheese runs out. And Dr. Johnson presented this simple parable to folks who may fear or resist change. And the beauty of this parable, that it sums up all the natural history in just 94 pages. So, you know, friends, things change, they always have changed, and we will constantly change. And where there's no single way to deal with change, Dr. Johnson tells us that the consequences of pretending that change won't always happen is the same. Cheese run out. So this morning, we sung our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And if you listen to the 4th verse, it tells us, don't be afraid of some change. I won't sing that for you, but don't be afraid of some change. So why do we feel change? Well, you know, we all experience our own level of fear of change. That's why our comfort zone exists. And friends, we're not alone in our feelings surrounding change. In fact, according to some neuroscientists, the uncertainty we feel about change is a failure in our brains. That's why so many people would rather avoid change because of how comfortable the associated feeling can be. The fear of change is one of the most common fears we face. We get comfortable with the status quo and worry that any change will make our situation worse instead of better. And all life changes would take us to someplace different out of our comfort zone. And those same neuroscientists that I mentioned earlier tells us that people feel change because it means that the outcomes are unknowns, and our brains are designed to find peace in knowing. So when we don't know what will happen, we make up scenarios, and in turn we worry. We sometimes find it hard to move on when something comes to an end. And the fear of failure also comes into play to create a fear of change. And if we don't know how something will turn out, we may not try because of what the outcome may be. And trying something new becomes a new risk. And many of us are risk averse. Now, being risk averse is in some of our nature, and we sometimes feel that we have to control everything that happens in our lives. And sometimes trying something new, making a change, become a risk that we may be unwilling to take. We're also conditioned and naturally wired to like to be in control. So, you know, my wife Franca always tells me about being in control. She says, Sherman, with her Trinidadian accent, you always want to be in control, and if things don't happen according to your plan, it drives you nuts. Well, friends, I love my wife, but I don't always agree with her, and hopefully she's not watching this service at home. But I do want to know who moved my cheese. But seriously, we like being in control, and the fear of change is both an outcome in nature and nurture. But the fear of change can be managed and altered, and it takes a hard work for us to realize that everything was once unknown at some point in our life, and it takes courage and action to move forward towards a path of positively beneficial outcome. This is why it is so necessary for us to work towards the mindset that we can welcome and embrace change. You know, in this faith community, we have dealt with an extraordinary amount of changes and transition over the past 2 years. And during the next few months, we'll be confronting more changes and transition. At this afternoon annual meeting, you will be asked to make decisions that will determine the future direction of this congregation. There will be a lot of uncertainties, anxiety, and angst, and also there will be excitement of the new possibility and hopes that are on the horizon. And trust me, I know transitions are hard. They force us from the familiar and move us into the unknown. And some of us will go kicking and screaming, but at the end of the day, things here at First UU are going to change, whether we like it or not. So friends, we might as well embrace the change and the transition and make the best of it. So let's embrace the transition and change that are coming our way. Yes, change is hard and requires us to say goodbye to something familiar and learn a new way, sometimes an unpleasant new way. And when that happens, we should consider that when we experience weariness in ourselves and crankiness in others as they deal with the changes in their lives and in this congregation, this is the time when we offer each other grace, compassion, and patience. Grace, compassion, and patience. Because change usually involves loss. And think about what's happened during the past few years. We lost our normal routine. We lost our communities. We lost the way we gather as a congregation. We lost the way we're connected to one another. We lost friends who left the congregation, and we lost cherished staff members to retirement and relocation. And friends, we have lost beloveds who have gone to join the ancestors. But we must be willing to name this truth. All of these losses changed our congregation in many ways, and in some ways, First UU has changed forever. We mourn what we miss, the people and things we lose, but remember this, we need to embrace the changes and the new transition, and as a community, we will do this together. Embracing change can be a spiritual practice, and our spiritual growth will depend on our ability to embrace changes with an open mind and open heart. Embrace changes will stop us from stagnation and take us out of our comfort zone. Let's imagine if we are willing to step out of our comfort zone and embrace change, how a new transformative ministry can change the lives of many of our siblings in the beloved community. Let us imagine how embracing change will allow us to create new opportunity and new experiences for all of us. Embracing change will challenge us to scale new heights and enlarge our capacity to love our nature. And when we discover that we have a greater capacity to love our neighbors, imagine how different this world would be. Embracing change can be liberating, and the more we welcome it, the more profoundly positive its impact can have on our lives. My friends, embracing changes can give us opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. And imagine how many lives we can transform, how many lives we can affirm, how many lives we can save if this ministry and the members of this congregation are willing to embrace change. When we embrace change, we learn not just to survive these changes, but also to thrive in its midst. So that's just what I'm talking about this morning. Don't be afraid of some change, because you know, whether you like it or not, it's right around the corner. So don't fight it. Don't run from it. Don't avoid it. Just embrace it. And as I take my seat, my question for you this morning, are you really ready for some change? May this be so. Amen. Hymn 183, The Wind of Change Forever Blown.
As we extinguish the challenge, our closing words are offered to us by Helen Zidowecki. All things change. All roles, all positions. Change may come sooner or later, but changes come. We have an impact on change, whether by action or inaction. We need to heed well our contributions to the change that is inevitable.
Before I get to benediction, I have a couple of announcements. Our annual meeting will be held right after service, and this is when you can see our fifth principle in action: the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and society at large. So you will hear congregational reports, vote on the budget and bylaws, elect new leaders, and elect members to our ministerial search committee. So join us here or virtually after a few minutes after service. What time, Denise? 12:15. Okay. And also, June is Pride Month, and it's the entire month dedicated to uplifting our LGBTQ plus voices, the celebration of culture, support of the rights, and impact on our LGBTQ siblings has had on the world. Unitarian Universalism has a proud history of supporting full equality for our LGBTQ siblings and their families. And over a decade ago, our congregation has completed the Welcoming Congregation Program to increase understanding and inclusiveness of our LGBTQ plus siblings and extend this work beyond our congregational walls. And under Reverend Jean's leadership, our congregation led the fight for marriage equality in the Commonwealth, and 17 years ago, marriage equality became the law of the land. So this morning, let's honor our LGBTQ plus siblings, but not only this month, but the other 11 months of the year. And let us renew our commitment that no one should ever again suffer for the right to love or how they choose to identify themselves. So please rise for the benediction. And now, you leave this time together change. May the promise you've made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we all are changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. Now, friends, go in peace, go in love. May this be so. Amen.